They just want to say, screw you with the hotness. Gen Con news from the last week, all rolled into one. And your boy is amped up to begin this one because we get to start off with my favorite thing on a video of any kind, right? Saying screw you to someone over the internets. You ready? Let's do it. So why am I so worked up? Because I thought convention-wise, I thought COVID-wise, we were getting rid of this issue. People were improving. We were seeing less of it. San Diego Comic-Con. Also, majorly more so, Gen Con. And my issue, my personal issue, again, never speaking for any of you in the comment section, but my issue, freaking promos, right? I am not a completionist. I am not, by any means. I think some of the promo stuff is cool out there, and I think also a fair amount of promos are worthless, right? So that's why I'm a little bit being hypocritical here at the same time. But the point being, right, the flag I have seen raised over the last, I don't know, the whole time I've been doing this channel and longer, the whole thing with crowdfunding, right? You can't have exclusives anymore, Chris. Exclusives aren't fair, Chris. Okay. You know what? I understand it. I'm still a little split. Part of me still says, I'm giving you a free loan. What am I getting in return? Remember, you're a business. I'm a customer. I am a consumer. I'm giving you now a free loan. Free loan, folks. This is not entitlement. This is me giving you money. So there has to be an incentive. And there's not enough money to go around to support just everybody that you want. So that's how I feel mixed on it, right? Because if you're giving me exclusives, you are saying you're putting trust in my product. I am going to reward you. And you can make the argument, is that better than a slight reduction in price point? Is that getting it slightly earlier? Whatever that looks, right? But at least during the campaign, right? There is X amount of days, unlimited number of people that are aware of it and have access to it can get it, can, buy it, can get a free loan to potentially get it sometime in the future. Where I'm going with this is people shouted from the rooftops, squeaky wheel, getting the forking grease, that this is a horrible business practice. Horrible business practice. Consumers, horrible business practice. Publishers saying, we don't want to do this. Okay, fantastic, fine. Again, right? I like them, but I'm not going to demand that you have them either, right? I'm not going to be unreasonable here. I was having a political discussion earlier with my brother-in-law today, and it was very good because we're both reasonable people. But where I'm going with this, though, squirrel, is that conventions are now doing this. They're saying, okay, here's your promos. I was watching my social media this weekend during Gen Con, and I literally saw a Star Wars Unlimited promo pack going for $350. People just going there, grabbing them, and turning around and scalping them. They don't even want it. They just want to say, screw you to the people who can't get there. They just want to say, screw you if you actually want it in some way, shape, or form. That's the trend of this, right? CMON just put out a whole bunch of promos in both these conventions, right? And I have mixed feelings about that because one of the promos was an expansion making up of all the other promos that they put out previously for Marvel United, upcoming Marvel United Witching Hour expansion, which is actually freaking great idea. But at the same time, people were getting these and literally flipping them on the day of convention online. Again, not even, going there and saying, I really want this, but going there and saying, I beat you in line. You can't get a product you want. And again, this is the difference between this and crowdfunding exclusives. One, only a select rich few folks are going to be able to go there in the first place. Don't fool yourself. Conventions are not for the average goer. If you're spending hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars to go to this, you're better well off than a lot of other people in general. So there's already privilege there to begin with, right? I'm not going to accuse you of having privilege, but you have to recognize that you have the privilege in the first place. Secondly, there's only so many. So even if you're there, you're going to not be able to get it. And especially if you're not there, which was the whole big thing at the beginning of the pandemic, right? They did a whole Gen Can't. As soon as we can make a ton of money, in person again, screw you to the people that can't come, right? Because that's what it is. And that's not even, I'm sure, counting the umpteenth number of other promos that are going along with that. And again, this is a minutia point as a whole, right? Because as I have started looking on crowdfunding in general, right? If your interest is a small promo pack of 6 cards, well, that's fine. If your game is only, 18 cards, wow, that's a big chunk of the stuff. But if your game is 400 cards and you offer me 6 or 12 even, that fractional percentage there, folks, right? That's how I should be looking at it comparatively, truthfully, because, if you take all those Marvel United promos, the DC 2 United Gold promo, whatever there was, right? Comparatively to all of the Marvel United that is out there now with 3 seasons and the 4th coming in DC, it's still a tiny fraction, right? Shouldn't matter, doesn't matter in the long run, right? But it's the hypocrisy of it as a whole, because I have heard a lot of people shouting from the rooftops, and I guess this is really what the part that grinds my gears more than anything else. Not that they exist, not that companies do them, but also that companies do not do them on one side of things and then turn around and sort of show me the other side of their face and do it at conventions. Again, see tons of people in years past saying crowdfunding exclusives are bad, but I see nary a person saying promos are bad. I feel like promos are just another FOMO, extreme FOMO for this hobby. And that's what bothers me when, you can't have FOMO here and we can't have FOMO here, but you know what? This FOMO benefits us, so this is the FOMO we're going to be. No, I don't want FOMO anywhere in that sense then, right? Let's call a spade a spade. Let's level the playing field. But it's not popular for obvious reasons, because again, business. So take that for what you will. One other thing I have to point out that really just pisses me off too, right? And since we're on the topic, games that sell out before the doors open. I saw and heard several of that, and I know that's not just a this year thing. I know I've heard that story repeated ad nauseum over the years, right? The fact that you can't even get a game that they're bringing, that they're not selling until the day of. It's not like these are pre-orders that people have booked online in advance or picking up. No, it's closed doors, we're selling them, and you're a general public and you can't even get in, right? You can't even get them. And that's freaking irritating, right? If I'm a convention goer and I'm going there for that one game, because that's what were happening in a lot of those situations. Or you got the 2-line situation where, this line is for this, but this line is for this, but then someone in this line grabs one of these because, man, that's why this stuff just riles me up. Haul posts are coming. I saw it on social media today. This is my haul. Speaking of that, right? Marvel United. Witching Hour. It's got all the old promos like the Grey Hulk and the Scarlet Witch, and there's a new symbiote deck. And again, it's cool. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I was trying to look into a way to get those. I'm going to buy Witching Hour when it comes to retail, because that's the other thing. It's coming to retail. So I don't need to pay your scalper $60 or $90 price for it when it's going to be $39, $90, whatever in the near future. Sorry, not sorry. So other news. Actually, the biggest news to me personally, if you missed my crowdfunding roundup from the end of the week, I squirreled in the middle of it when I was scrolling through and finishing up a summary of one of the GameFound projects. Because all of a sudden, lo and behold, at the bottom of GameFound, there's a freaking pre-launch page. He's real happy. I'm real riled up right now. Of something that I Didn't know I needed. Now, this is going to be the question, though, right? And I already saw over the weekend, I'm guessing 1 or 2 people saw this announcement and tried to sell their stuff, right? Let me pull it out real quick if I can find it. Oh, it's right here. It being 2 things. You know, you guys hear me talk about this all the time, but I think some people just don't believe me, right? Lord of the Rings, The Confrontation. I own both editions. Huh. Legendary, Ultimate, Deluxe, Superfluous, Over the Top edition. I didn't realize I was holding this one sideways because on the back it's actually, you know, this way and then it's this way. Anyway, but now you know I own both of them. I'm a big fan of this game. It's Lord of the Rings Stratego, only slightly better, right? Game found. Ghost Galaxy. The people behind the Keyforge recent, you know, comeback. They're bringing it back to crowdfunding. And it looks like later this year. No details, though. No details. Is it going to be just this? Is it going to be this and this? This has more stuff and more characters and more stuff. And is it going to be something else different? I don't know. I'm super hyped, though, right? Super hyped. So, put those right there. Huh? Speaking of that, side segue here. I got one of my Grail games this past weekend. You know, at the end of the work week, I have one of those eBay subscriptions when stuff like gets on there. I just bought a copy of Malefic Curses, the 8th edition, Wiz War. I got it. It's coming to me. It's going to be here by the end of the week. Anyway, that's three Grail games so far this year. Prior to that, I traded for Bruce Lee Unmatched. Oh! And I got Imperium the Contention. So I am doing killer on Grail games. Anyway, side segue there. The other thing that I got some, you know, vibes from, not again, a whole lot of information. And I don't know if there's a release date at this point, but we're going to stay with the Lord of the Rings, right? Seven Wonders Duel, the retheme, the reskin, the redo, whatever you want to call it. It's, you know, coming to retail later this year. And it's looking good. People were enamored with it. People liked it. Now, again, right? You have to kind of know your audience of who's talking to you. And the fact is, randos on social media, not saying that as a derogatory term, by the way, just randos, right? Like, you know, I don't know you from Joe Schmo, are talking about it in a positive light. So I'm guessing that the majority of the people that played it were probably super interested in it in the first place, right? So probably not unbiased looking at it from that aspect of things, but it's okay. You know, as someone that falls in the same category, right? I wanted more. I want to know it more. So that doesn't bother me one bit whatsoever. So what other big news came out? Huge news! Huge news! At the same time, I'm sort of having mixed feelings and a little bit concerned about it, you know, in addition. Dune freaking Imperium. Direwolf killing it, right? Bloodlines! They're taking a page from WWE. In case you haven't seen the Bloodlines, you know, WWE thing. It's like the Samoan family, Roman Reigns. I'll get into that at the end of the video. You can tune in or skip to that section if you want to hear more. But Bloodlines, new tech, new leaders, new commanders, guild navigators, expanding. Here's the tricky part, right? Imperium and Uprising. Okay. Because, truth be told, most people, the consensus on the interwebs, from what I read, talking about me, not you, is that Imperium Uprising doesn't need the expansions. Imperium benefits significantly from both. So this is for both of them, right? This begs the question, right, in my head, as someone who is invariably going to buy it. Why did you put out Uprising in the first place? Why didn't you just do a deluxe or a 2.0 or a this has everything incorporated edition? Guess what you're going to get in 2025? Like a year from now, we'll be having the the Everdell Complete Collection, that version of Dune Imperium, right? Dune Imperium with all 3 expansions included. Or you'll get a Kemet Cyclades situation where they just cut out some of that little expansion stuff and do it a little bit chop order, Star Wars movie style, and throw it all back together. And boom, there you go. And you can buy that instead, right? I don't know. New stuff. War sweeps across the universe. Only the strongest bloodlines will survive. I can't even make this stuff up, folks. It's just, right? I don't know. I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one. Anyway, one of the other big titles I just saw making some waves. It's a little bit on the hotness. You may be on there at the time of you looking. It may not be. Spectacular from Chili Fox Games. Tiles, dice, creating an animal park. Tell me if you've heard those things before. Like I said previously, great games are not like complete games that are doing something absolutely uniquely different, except for like Gloomhaven, but then everyone else is subsequently like off the shoulders of that, or Kingdom Death. And this is the same, right? You're drafting, dice rolling, pattern building, area connecting via tiles to score your habitats. Whoo! Do you have a type? I can just hear all of the Arc Nova lovers. I can just hear them Pavlovian drooling and throwing money at the screen as I'm filming this, right? Collect your species as much as possible to make your park more, wait for it, spectacular! That's why they did it, folks. And you're just getting points. And if you want to challenge yourself, there's 3 of 18 mission tiles after a few plays. So raising the difficulty of creating a puzzle style situation in the first place. I don't know. More wide Essen release, though. That's why it's getting the clicks and getting the notice from that aspect. So then, I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if I talked about it. I don't think so. Skytear Horde, right? Skytear, the folks behind it. They said, okay, we're going to give you a different version of this Skytear-esque game. We're going to call it Onward. And it's the sequel. There's nothing in Board Game Geek. It's their 3rd game. And it's the spiritual successor. Card and miniatures based on MOBA. It's Skytear, right? Onward, not just a redo Redux 2nd edition, but you can use some of the miniatures, they say, in this one. Okay. High-level gameplay overview per promotion email. More accessible, streamlined, not dumbed down though. Deep, less lifestyle than Skytear. Added monsters and jungles. Gold to scale your powers of your heroes. Monsters you've seen before, though, in the similar setting. Items to customize play. Towers and nexuses you can attack. And a dragon outsider in the river, whatever the heck that is. The central area of the map, they're saying. With award game breaking bonuses. Boom shakalaka. So, focus on 2 players controlling multiple heroes. Again, playtime 40 to 90 minutes. Managing waves of minions. Highly interactive card play. The map looks more like a Battle for Eternia style to me. Got rid of the hexes. Mandatory deck building is gone. The complexity is gone. The straightforwardness is there. Victory cards that leading to gotcha moments are gone too. So crowdfunding whenever, right? So we'll see. I think it looks kind of cool. I think we're going to get more information in the next couple months. And you know what? I trust them to put out something that's going to be really intriguing and enthralling from that aspect of things. Well, what else we got going on? Well, Shin Megami Tensei, the video game you may or may not be familiar with. Astute Kickstarter browsers found the pre-launch page for that. Ooh, it's also now on Board Game Geek. I mean, it's demon-infested Tokyo, folks. You got abilities. You're going to fight off and take control of regions. Epic battling across the way. Icrea. ICREA. That's the design publisher that is behind it. And they don't have any other games on Board Game Geek. So, no idea. It's going to be miniature-based. I'd be shocked if it isn't. Is it going to be area control? Well, maybe. That's what it says on one of the mechanisms. But apart from that, zero information. So we'll see where this goes. I think that could be really kind of an interesting test. Now going over to AEG and something of a similar light, Misfit Heroes, I believe one of their upcoming games, I think retail release. A magical realm called Absurdia combines with our realm and crazy things happen. And so you get influence over the hearts and minds of citizens in the regions that are surrounding you with magical beasts living among the ordinary people and vice versa. Playing character cards, special abilities, money drawing, influence, and taking over said kingdom. 6 influence. Get the, corresponding value type area and score points. I don't know, man. Combo, deck construct, hand management. I'm intrigued. And not any information on this one either. So, I don't know. AG and me, we're getting along a lot better lately in terms of their games, right? Just had Space Base, the Genesis expansion, come in the mail this past week. A couple weeks before that, got my other War Chest expansion, the latest from that crowdfunding campaign as well. So, I'm liking it so far from that aspect of things. So, this one, show me more, AG, show me more. Then, this was actually just prior to Gen Con, Open Owl Studios threw out the name and the premise of their next, well, open world game, if you will. However, forever, you need to know that in this case, it's actually going to be solo only right now, at least on the label on Board Game Geek, right? They're calling it innovative. Ooh, you know how I like it when people call things innovative. Innovative! Healing a forest from a dark shadow. Narrative adventure game, immersive storyline. Tell me if you've heard those words thrown together previously, though. Replayable campaign, single scene, multiple scenes forming a chapter, ramifications, consequences, blah, 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 etc., going on and forth. So, I mean, Open Owl Studios, right? This is sort of their vibe, right? Mythwind, and then your Stars of Ikarios, and your Stone Sagas, and now this. So how do you feel? Is that intriguing enough for you as a solo person? Is this infringing on the people who also are interested in the chip theory heavy style of things? Are they going to all of a sudden have competing levers? I don't know why I said that. It's kind of weird. I made it awkward there, didn't I? Yeah. What I'm saying, though, is if you solo junkies now are looking for more, this might be dedicated just for you. And now you have the choice of many, I was going to say lovers there again, many options. Phrasing. Also, I saw it get leaked out. Crowdfunding page surfing again. Sweetlands. Board game of confectionery city building from one of my favorite folks over from Japan, who's had many other crowdfunding games, like Aqua Garden, right? Uchibacoya. But this description says they're going heavy Euro now. The heaviest of Euros, if you will. 200 cards, 14 unique characters, and 449 wooden tokens. Woo! Unprecedented gaming experience. No, those aren't my words, folks. Captures the essence of the traditional Euro-style games while introducing fresh and innovative mechanics. You want to be the new ruler of Sweetlands. Gather various townsfolk, navigate through fierce competition, and well, you're making city out of candy. So, I mean, does that intrigue you? Yeah, it intrigues me too, right? It's probably going to be too heavy. I should email him and check out, where things are at with that. So, Uchibacoya probably has the most support crowdfunding-wise of any of the Japanese, Korean designers on crowdfunding as a whole. So, this is going to be a big one, and it's probably going to raise another 6 digits in terms of funding. So, hopefully, I think this one looks like, if it's already got a crowdfunding page, maybe before the end of the year. So, we'll see. Then Cryptozoic is coming back, maybe kind of soon too, with another of the DC deck building games. Only this time, they're going Arkham Asylum, right? Whew. As I said with the DC United, ranking of those expansions and stuff, right? I said, I really wanted Arkham Asylum to be something better than it was. Like, I was kind of down on Arkham Asylum as the expansion as a whole in that one. Because, I am, Batman DC loving, right? Not so much DC wide, but that and Arkham Asylum and the things you can do with that, video game wise, right? Hit me with the lores in the field spots is what I'm asking in that sense. So can DC deck building and Cryptozoic do that? I don't know, because the last 2 DC deck buildings that have come to crowdfunding with Cryptozoic, going back to the beginning, right, have had exclusives. And there's just very small sample size of people that are putting stuff out content-wise or comment-wise on Board Game Geek even, right? You've got 50 comments or something on an expansion like that. So I don't know. I've never owned any of the DC deck building. Would this be a great point to get in? I'm looking at this more akin, if it's a standalone expansion, of course, that is, Ascension Legends, which is, going on currently with crowdfunding on GameFound, right? It's a good place to step in, which Ascension Legends didn't tell you enough on the page, does not still tell you enough on the page whether or not that is good or it's been updated enough or things like that. Like I just talked about the Dungeon Twister that's launching this month. It's the 20th anniversary, right? Are you getting with the modern times? Is this addressing some of the criticisms of that game originally? Dungeon Twister, DC Legendary, whatever it may be, right? That's what I want to know. And I want to know it. But there's no information. And so if there's not a ton of information, even with your exclusives, I don't feel like giving you my free loan, to use my phrasing from earlier. We'll kind of see. Then, from my local folk, Grand Gamers Guild, they're coming back soon again with a reprint of Tir Na Nog with Tir Na Nog Escape as the expansion. No info yet at this point, but again, just a small sample size. Only got like $20,000 or $30,000, I think, off the top of my head. I mean, it was 5 digits. It's still good. But this is a card-driven gameplay, Celtic, thematic, storyteller, tableau builder. 7.6 rating with only 168 ratings. It intrigues me. I like the aesthetic. I like the idea of it. Premise of it was relatively solid with a light worker placement drafting style mechanism. So adding cards to your tableau, reverse draft, it's saying all the right things. But will I like it too? And that's the main question. I don't know. This says try before I buy all over it. And so if I can, I just might. The other big one that's got some vibes going on that coincides with the hotness. I mean, I put it on my Gen Con games to watch as one that I thought was going to make waves, right? Undaunted, Callisto, 2022, modular setup. What's going to be different? Is it going to be a good entry point? I think it is. But I'd also make the argument that just like with DC United, if you're not a fan of the core premise in the first place, it's probably not going to veer far enough off for you to change your mind. But as someone who, kind of liked but didn't love, but could very much appreciate the superbness of the mechanisms in the last couple, I'm intrigued enough to make me want to dip my toes in again. Sort of like the reviews of Imperium Horizons as a redone rules and easier, more accessible way to get into it, rather than the, classics and legends versions of things that were not that and the exact opposite, in fact. And so if this can do that for me, I mean, again, the temptation is there. The other one that was coming right up and giving a lot of attention just before convention because astute consumers found it on Barnes & Noble's website. Well, Arcane Wonders is putting it out with Spin Master over in America now, at least. Comic Hunters 2020 game that just kind of flew under the radar with actual comic, licensure stuff where you're comic book collectors. Buy low, sell high, set collect, draft, 3 rounds as you go across and just, get the ones you want and sell them as you go along. So you get more points as you go. It was like 20 something bucks. So good freaking deal from that side of things. So we're going to see kind of, where things go. P.S. Folks who are selling it for $75 and $225 on Board Game Geek at the time of me filming this, I don't think you're going to sell it anymore for that price FOMO-wise. Just food for thought. And truth be told, that's mainly because people were importing from like Brazil. That was the only place people could find it. And it was costing them like $80 shipped plus or minus. I can't remember if the $80 was including shipping or if it was actually 80 plus the shipping, but that's where they were doing it because there's some forum threads and I looked into it. I dabble all over the place, folks. The other thing that makes me super excited, super trepidatious, and super restoration games, call me, bro. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Tales to Amaze, right? They had copies there. Copy there? I don't know. But I saw it. Whew. Oh, yep. I'm going to own it. I'm going to own it. Are you going to own it? I said earlier in the video, right? I got my Bruce Lee copy. I got my Bruce Lee promo. I've got the Deadpool one. I kind of want to pick up something like Cobble and Fog and maybe the Sun's Origin one. I don't know. Genie Houdini. I don't know. Like, Genie Houdini just sounds good. I've heard the mismatch, though, is kind of bad. Anyway, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? I have some nostalgia for those. My kids, not as much. But, I mean, my kids know them. There's a couple Netflix shows. It's like Scooby-Doo, right? Every 2 or 3 years, it gets a completely, utterly weird, complete opposite direction reboot and then gets canceled after 2 or 3 seasons. So I'm super excited. And I want to see what they can do. Show me the depths. Give me CMON depths, right? Like, as much as you criticize CMON, right? They dig deep into the Marvel lore, into the Marvel IP, the DC lore, the DC IP. Give me something deeper in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Restoration, Roxley, the Dice Throne, they've all just kind of like gone for the give the surface core for the people that are nostalgia and just have, you know, surface level interest. Give something for the hardcore, you know, very familiar with the old school comics and the video games. Please, please, please. You know, I gotta ask, right? At least from that side of things. So that's at least out there. Another one that I guess made the rumors, I talked about it on one of my videos for Gen Con as well, In the Footsteps of Marie Curie, the follow-up standalone expansion or the follow-up standalone game of the In the Footsteps of Darwin. Rumors apparently, or, you know, confirmed, I don't know, I saw it just being mentioned once or twice in passing, of the next in that game trilogy, a quadrilogy, however many they want to do, of In the Footsteps of Mozart. So take that for whatever you will. As a whole, I don't have a clue, right? You're already telling me about the third game when I can't even get the second one. So take that for what it is. But when you get like, what was it? It was a Spiel nominee, I think, wasn't it? So it's not insignificant. And then another one that I'm just not sure what to make of, because I thought the concept was rather quaint. And I liked the idea of it from Darrington Press, like the Critical Role adjacent tabletop side of things with Queen by Midnight. But like apparently the rules and just the explanation in it was just awful. Just errors everywhere. Very unclear from a get-go whole. It's got a 6.5 on Board Game Geek, right? Not even a 7. Granted, 200 ratings, so very small sample size. It got an expansion. It was announced at Gen Con as releasing in November, right? For, you know, some company that is so heavy on the tabletop side of things, to put out comparatively, allegedly, again, that's what a lot of the comments are full of. Not me personally, I haven't played it, haven't read it, but like rules errors or rules ambiguity, that just boggles my mind, right? I mean, we see that on crowdfunding. Again, like that's not where all the money goes, right? Who wants to QA their rule book? You know, because as I'm always told in the comment section whenever I critique this, right? Well, Chris, just watch a how to play video. Oh my gosh. There's very little in this hobby that grinds my gears more than that when people say that. Well, you can just learn it by watching this video. No, I want a publisher to put out a rule book that doesn't make me have to watch a video. Even if they spend extra money paying someone to make a how-to video, maybe they should spend the money in the first place to make a rule book that's usable. Right? Am I taking crazy pills here? Well, it's besides the point, but I'm not taking crazy pills on this topic at least, and I will stand my ground and fight you in the comment section on that one. But Quarter Pass is the standalone expansion that's going to go with this. And again, standalone. 4 new princesses, because like the queen dies and you just want to be the princess that's crowned queen at midnight or whatever it is. So again, there you go. Jump right on in with new fighting styles to go along with the 6 original ones. So, I mean, okay. Check mark? Question mark? The other one that's sort of on the periphery of the hotness, I saw people talking about it, but it just reminds me of the game because it's the gang, right? Can't make this up. Again, I understand why they titled it because this is cooperative Texas Hold'em. If you're not familiar with Texas Hold'em, it's you get poker, right? Poker only, instead of 5 cards in your hand, 5-card stud, it is 2 cards. And then you take 3 cards from what is known as the river in front of you to make the best 5-card hand. Those 2 cards are hidden from everyone else. This is different though in that sense. It's not just you versus the other people at the table. It's you working with the people at the other table, bidding to see if you think how good your hand actually is. And if you all do it really well somehow, then you get to open a bank vault. If not, you trigger the alarm. Get 3 bank vaults open before 3 alarms, you win. Frankly speaking, as someone who is a huge fan of the game, has the game Duel, did you know they made a 2-player at the game? I reviewed that from Panasaurus a couple years ago at the beginning of my channel, and it was funny because half the comments were like, "You're a shill because you like the game," and I'm like, "Screw you, man! It's a good, fun game, 2-player card style driven aspect." So don't overlook these things. What gets played and what other people enjoy. Don't forget, not just what you hobby niche gamer in the hobby that's up to here in everything spades worker placement wise loves, right? There's all sorts for all types. And this one, for 20 minutes worth of playtime, is going to probably end up in my collection, right? Because cooperative, yeah, it's a big hit. The game actually is one of my most played games in my collection, period. So, yeah, It's worth a $15 try, right? You spent more on crowdfunding shipping to get screwed from that aspect of things. So think about it from that side, right? Ha ha! Not you, me. So that's it. That is news, roundup, everything in between, little hotness, all smashed into one. I'm sure there'll be a couple interesting topics that I just missed, or some hotness from elsewhere and some clicks. Because you know what? There's just no coagulation of this news, right? Like, I am just like crowdsourcing and crowd surfing and social mediaing this stuff as a Jen Cantor. And even then, if you're there, it's really hard to tell sort of what's it's more just whatever your interest is and where you end up going. And sometimes you luck into stuff and sometimes you don't. So yeah, I'm sure next weekend we'll have plenty of other things to talk about and other things that'll catch my interest. So there you go. Everything you need to know, post Gen Con and news all wrapped into one. Kind of worked out well, separating it out from the crowdfunding best of August that I did on Saturday instead. So you can go check that out in addition in the first place. So anyway, where I was going though, you know, for those of you that actually clicked the timestamp, right? The Bloodlines in WWE. Basically, there is a Samoa group, right? If you want to think of The Rock, well, there's a bunch of like clans, cousins, you know, just family tree situation. And so Roman Reigns is one of those people, and he was shoehorned in a couple of years ago as sort of the appointed one, and they kind of just got forced onto fans, and fans resisted. And then finally The Rock, Roman Reigns, turned. If you're not familiar, there's faces and there's heels. There's good guys and bad guys in wrestling. And Roman Reigns finally went from being forced upon people as a good guy, trying to get them to like him that way, and he turned bad guy. And his everything just, you know, went off the charts. It fit him better. It went over better. You know, you're not supposed to cheer the bad guy, but like, it was done in such a good way, and the compelling storyline and the elements of things of people joining the bloodline, people getting kicked out of the bloodline, people fighting amongst the bloodline, but then also betraying each other, and then also not betraying each other eventually because they're family, before you had Cody Rhodes come in and have a 2-year long program, essentially, to eventually take the top title in WWE from Roman Reigns, who had been holding it for, well, over 3 years, holding one title for over 3 years. One of the longest, if not the longest, modern day title reign of any company in any situation. And why that's so unheard of is because you usually don't have anyone hold it for that long, because it becomes stale, because it becomes trite, because it becomes repetitive, ad nauseum, being forced down their throat. But they were able to keep it compelling. And wrestling isn't wrestling, folks. Wrestling is scripted stories, shows like anything else you watch. And sometimes when wrestling is good, wrestling is awesome. That's all I got. Stay classy. Have a great freaking fantastic day. If you listen to that part. If you want to talk wrestling in the comment section, or if you think I should start a wrestling second channel as well, let me know. Peace out. Stay classy.